April 16th, 1945, just past dawn, somewhere along a shattered forest road in the Sauerland hills of western Germany. Mist clings to the tree line. Somewhere behind that mist, the low growl of American Sherman engines rolls closer, mixed with the crunch of boots on wet gravel and the metallic clink of gear against gear. The air smells of diesel exhaust, churned mud, and the faint bitterness of spent gunpowder from a firefight the night before. Soldiers of the U.S. 3rd Armored Division move cautiously, rifles low, eyes scanning the tree line for movement. And then, through the fog, one of them stops dead in his tracks. Sitting silent in a shallow ditch beside the road is something none of them have ever seen before. A steel monster, low and angular, its sloped front plate the size of a barn door, streaked with rust-colored mud. No engine sound, no crew, just stillness. One GI creeps closer, boots sinking into the soft earth, and stares up at a gun barrel so long it seems to stretch into the mist itself. Someone whispers, "What in God's name is that?" What they'd stumbled upon was a Jagdtiger, the heaviest armored fighting vehicle to see combat in the Second World War. Weighing close to 75 tons, built on a stretched Tiger II chassis, and mounting a monstrous 12.8 centimeter Parquet 44 gun, capable of punching through nearly any Allied tank at ranges over 2 kilometers. On paper, it was a nightmare, a rolling fortress designed by Nazi Germany's engineers to stop entire columns of Allied armor dead in their tracks. But this one wasn't fighting, it wasn't even running. It just sat there, abandoned, its crew nowhere to be found. That single detail would turn out to matter more than anyone in that clearing realized. Because this machine, feared even in intelligence briefings back in London and Washington, was about to reveal a secret that Germany's own engineers had been wrestling with since the day it rolled off the production line. A flaw so fundamental that it would end up killing more Jagdtigers than American shells ever did. The soldiers radioed it in. Within hours, officers arrived to inspect the beast up close, running gloved hands along its thick armor plating, peering into the open hatch, trying to piece together why a tank this powerful had simply been left to rot in a ditch. No burn marks, no shell impacts, no sign of a fight at all. Something had happened to this machine long before any American gun ever got the chance to fire at it. And as engineers back at Aberdeen Proving Ground would soon discover, tearing this vehicle apart bolt by bolt, the answer to that mystery would expose one of the most costly design failures of the entire German war machine, a flaw hiding in plain sight, buried deep within the very heart of the beast. To understand what killed this machine before it ever fired a shot in anger, you have to go back to the factories of St. Valentin, Austria, in the summer of 1944. There, in a plant already strained by relentless Allied bombing raids, workers assembled the Jagdtiger from parts pulled from the King Tiger production line. Steel plates up to 25 centimeters thick sloped across the front hull, nearly impervious to almost anything the Allies could throw at it head-on. It was, by raw armor specification alone, the most heavily protected fighting vehicle of the entire war. But armor isn't free. Every centimeter of steel adds weight, and weight is a debt that has to be paid somewhere. The Jagdtiger tipped the scales at around 71 to 75 tons, nearly double the weight of an American Sherman. And that weight had to move on the same engine, the same transmission, and the same suspension components originally engineered for a vehicle almost 20 tons lighter. At the core of the problem sat the Maybach HL230P30 engine, a powerful 12-cylinder producing around 700 horsepower. Impressive until you consider it was being asked to haul a machine heavier than a loaded freight car through mud, over broken roads, and across bridges never designed to hold that kind of mass. German engineers knew this. Some had raised concerns during development, but by 1944, Germany wasn't building tanks for long-term reliability. It was building them to survive the next 6 months. Transmission failures became common. Final drive units, the gears responsible for transferring engine power to the tracks, were pushed constantly beyond their design limits. Reports from German maintenance crews described drive units failing after only a few hundred kilometers, sometimes less. Imagine being a tank commander, ordered to redeploy your vehicle to a new defensive line, only to feel that sickening jolt and grinding shriek beneath you. Knowing your 70-ton fortress has just become a stationary bunker. And bridges, most European bridges in 1944 simply weren't rated for this kind of weight. Crossing rivers meant either finding one of the rare reinforced crossings or risking a bridge collapse mid-span. More than once, Jagdtigers were abandoned not because of enemy fire, but because there was simply no way to move them forward without destroying the infrastructure beneath them. Fuel was another silent killer. The Jagdtiger consumed enormous quantities of increasingly scarce German fuel reserves, and by early 1945, entire units were being abandoned not from battle damage, but from empty tanks, sitting helpless as advancing Allied forces closed in. So when that patrol from the 3rd Armored Division found their Jagdtiger sitting undamaged in a ditch, the mystery wasn't really a mystery at all, not once the engineers got a proper look underneath. But what they found when they opened up that transmission housing back at Aberdeen would shock even veteran ordnance officers, because the flaw wasn't just bad luck or wartime shortages. It was something baked into the very design philosophy of the vehicle. And it was about to raise a question American engineers couldn't stop asking. How many of these steel giants had Germany built, only to lose to their own machine before the enemy ever got the chance? Back at Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, in the weeks that followed, American ordnance engineers began the slow, methodical process of tearing the captured Jagdtiger apart. Wrenches turned. Panels came off. Grease-stained hands traced the path of power from engine to final drive, searching for the answer everyone wanted. How do you stop something this heavily armored? The answer, it turned out, wasn't about armor at all. It was about balance. Engineers found that the final drive units, the very last gears connecting the engine's power to the tracks, were nearly identical to those used in the much lighter Tiger, I, and Panther. Germany, desperate for production speed amid collapsing industrial capacity, had never designed a final drive robust enough for a 75-ton vehicle. They had simply reused what already existed on the assembly line. It was a fatal shortcut. Under the sustained stress of the Jagdtiger's mass, these components failed catastrophically and often. Some German unit records from late 1944 and early 1945 describe entire companies of Jagdtigers rendered combat ineffective within days of deployment, not from Allied shells, but from mechanical breakdown. Schwer Panzerjäger Abteilung 653, one of the primary units to field the vehicle in combat, struggled constantly with breakdowns during its actions on the Western Front, forcing crews to abandon otherwise undamaged vehicles rather than let them fall into Allied hands intact. Picture a Jagdtiger crew in the Ardennes in December 1944, engine roaring, snow flying off the tracks, moving to reinforce a collapsing position. Then, without warning, a grinding shudder from beneath the hull. The vehicle lurches, stalls, the transmission is gone. No amount of courage in that crew compartment can fix broken steel. Their fortress, feared enough to headline Allied intelligence reports, becomes a helpless steel coffin waiting for demolition charges from its own retreating army. That was the story hidden inside the vehicle found near the Sauerland forest. Whether it broke down from mechanical failure or was abandoned for lack of fuel, its crew had likely done exactly what so many others had done in the war's final months: destroy the guns, strip what they could, and walk away from a machine too heavy, too thirsty, and too fragile underneath its own armor to keep fighting. For the Americans studying it, the lesson was profound. Raw firepower and thick steel meant nothing without a machine built to sustain them. The Jagdtiger, feared on paper, had in practice become one of the war's clearest lessons in engineering overreach. A vehicle so focused on offense and protection that survivability itself was sacrificed. Fewer than 90 Jagdtigers were ever built. Many never fired a shot in anger. Some were captured almost untouched, monuments to ambition that outpaced the resources needed to sustain it. Today, only a handful of Jagdtigers remain, preserved in museums from Bovington to Aberdeen, silent giants that visitors can still walk beside. And when you stand before one, dwarfed by its scale, it's worth remembering that the greatest weapon isn't always the biggest or the most heavily armored. Sometimes, victory belongs to whoever builds a machine that can simply keep running. What do you think? Was the Jagdtiger a masterpiece of engineering or a warning sign of a war machine collapsing under its own weight? Let us know in the comments below.